I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and peri-menopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. I had a recent conversation that I wish every woman could hear. So many women come to me in their 40s saying, I don't feel like myself anymore, but I don't think I'm in menopause yet. And I always pause because what they describe to me is often perimenopause, and no one prepared us for it. In a recent episode of Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast, episode 205 to be exact, I sat down with Kathy Eason, Chief Science Officer at Berkeley Life, to talk about what's really happening in the body during this transition. We explored why symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, anxiety, poor sleep, and reduced stress tolerance aren't personal failings or signs of getting old, but early physiological changes tied to shifting hormones, and the intricate dance between estrogen, nitric oxide, and serotonin that affects everything from your mood to your circulation. What stood out most in this conversation is how deeply heart and brain health are connected to menopause, often long before periods stop. As estrogen declines, your body's ability to produce nitric oxide shifts, affecting blood flow and vascular health in ways that can show up subtly at first. This is why perimenopause isn't just about hot flashes. It's a critical cardiovascular turning point. And here's what matters. Early awareness and action now can shape your long-term heart and brain health for decades to come. If you're navigating perimenopause and want to support your cardiovascular health and your menopause transition proactively, Berkeley Life's menopause and heart health support is designed exactly for this moment. Head to berkeleylife.com, use code LOVELY for 20% off. That's BERKELEYLIFE.com, using code LOVELY. You're tuned in to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and I have a treat today, a solo episode for you guys. Really have some goodies to share today on the brain aging that happens at menopause for women specifically, the roles of estrogen, food, and inflammation. Because it turns out that when it comes to Alzheimer's disease and neurodegeneration and the neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and dementias, you are not powerless. Let me show you how it happens and invite you to better self-care for prevention. Okay, so there's a new narrative overview, basically a review of the available medical literature by Lephart et al. Brand new, hot off the press, just not even a few weeks old at this point, that gives us some compiled data on how the brain degenerates and what you can do about it now. Now, this is not just for women with an Alzheimer's risk, although there are plenty of us. It's for any woman with a brain, because the numbers, statistics on women in Alzheimer's disease are grim. Postmenopausal women account for more than 60% of those with Alzheimer's disease. We are the caregivers too, so it affects us women disproportionately. The number predictions are by 2050, 153 million people worldwide will have dementia. Now, let's dive into what we can do about it. There's a lot that can be managed here. Okay, so first of all, peri-menopause is a pro-inflammatory phase which initiates neurodegeneration and mitochondrial dysfunction. Perimenopause is also a time where the immune system function declines because of stress, metabolic syndrome, and or declining hormones. Now, that's all really important when we're talking about how you can prevent, all right? These all may be really, again, take high-level views here. So let it wash over you and pick up what's useful for you. Okay, so the nervous system and the immune system work together to keep the brain healthy. And a big and important part of that is what's called the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier, or the BBB, is a primary defense system of the brain against toxins, infection, environmental things, virus, bacteria, you name it. The blood-brain barrier needs a strong gut microbiome, and that requires you to lower your stress, eat a decent diet, and have a great probiotic. Now, you guys have heard me talk about Just Thrive, the probiotic, on the show before. It's still my preferred probiotic. I take it myself every day. So you can learn more about that in the show notes. Any links I have, including the links to the research and the products that I talk about, will be in the show notes here. So let's talk about the diet piece first. So remember, we're looking at brain aging at menopause and the overlaying factors of declining estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Turns out we'll talk about that here in a minute. Nutritional deficiencies or inadequate nutrition, and inflammation and aging. Those four things come together to create Alzheimer's disease. So here's how we pull the levers and make that so it doesn't happen. What you eat matters so much for your brain, and diet is a modifiable risk for disease. That means you can change your habits to move the needle on whether or not this is going to be a lifetime experience for you, Alzheimer's. So when it comes to inadequate in nutrition, we see that a lot. And I have grave concerns about inadequate nutrition right now for a few different reasons. First of all, let me say, we know from the literature review that when someone does not get the nutrition that the human body needs for function, we have a much increased risk of neurodegeneration or breakdown of the brain's structure and function. Okay, so why would a person have inadequate nutrition? Certainly, someone who is experiencing scarcity may not have the resources to purchase nutrition or access nutrition that is helpful. We also have some food. Oh, how do I want to say this? I want to talk about intermittent fasting first. Now, you have heard me, if you've listened to the show a long time, you've heard me talk about intermittent fasting as a very useful tool, and it is. However, what needs to be understood about fasting is that we simply are living in an era now where we understand that a woman at midlife and beyond needs to intake far more protein than we ever thought we had to. And when you are eating the fasting methodology of 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day, even with supplementation, it's darn near impossible to access that level of protein. So I've softened quite a bit on the fasting tip in the last few, year or so. So if you're someone that's diehard, if it works well for you and you are able to fit in 100 grams of protein a day, then please, by all means, keep doing it. There's great research that shows it's actually quite healthy for the brain. But I do know that there are some, I'm trying to be careful how I say what I'm going to say here. I know that there is a trend to push 3-day water fasts for women. And as a medical expert and specifically a brain expert, I do not think that's a good idea. Now, if it's used under medical supervision for reversing diabetes or dementia in a short period of time, under medical supervision, like potentially in a medical office, then it can be very useful for that. But that can't be done alone. It should be done with somebody who can actually monitor your vitals. All right. You know how we talk about supporting your body through every phase of life, especially menopause? Well, here's something I've actually been using, and I want to share it with you. MitoPure Longevity Gummies are the first longevity gummies that work at the cellular level, and that matters more than you might think. Here's the thing. As we move through menopause, our cells naturally make less energy. These gummies support that cellular powerhouse with clinically proven urolithin A, targeting a key hallmark of aging, mitochondrial balance. Of course, the mitochondria are those cellular powerhouses. So you can feel strong, clear, and vibrant. These gummies are sugar-free, clean label certified, and honestly, it's so much easier than taking another pill. I actually keep mine on my desk, and when that mid-afternoon slump hits, I take 2. It's become my go-to instead of reaching for caffeine or a sugar hit. Longevity doesn't have to feel complicated. It starts with one daily habit. Start 2026 strong with 30% off your first month. Head to timeline.com/lovely30. That's timeline.com/lovely30. Because you deserve to feel your best in every decade. So the other thing that makes me concerned about inadequate nutrition is the explosion of people taking the weight loss medications, Ozempic, tirzepatide, or semaglutide. So that's the Ozempic, Mounjaro, etc. Incredibly powerful medicines. I couldn't say a bad thing about them, except that we have to be so mindful of what we're consuming if you are taking one of these medications. They can absolutely reverse all kinds of metabolic disorders. And we're seeing research that's showing us that there are benefits to taking the tirzepatide and semaglutide that go far beyond just being a blood sugar or a weight or a diabetes issue. So, as I said, I can't say a bad thing about them, but the people who are in charge of prescribing these medications are not in any way experts at nutrition. In fact, medical doctors don't get any nutrition as part of their training. I have never, in my clinical practice, seen a patient come in telling me that their doctor had prescribed them, let's say Ozempic, and given them the necessary tools to make sure they kept their nutrition up. If you don't do that, you are exchanging one problem, metabolic disorder, for another problem long term. Sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass, bone loss, and potentially fractures and frailty. These are mortal risks. So when doctors are prescribing these medications without giving the appropriate nutritional counseling on them, inadequate nutrition is a real problem, not just with the macros, that's proteins, carbs, and fats, but also with hydration. So if you happen to be listening and you're taking one of these amazing medications, make sure you're getting 100 grams of protein a day. That has to be a lean protein from a meat source or dairy. Whey is fine. You probably are not going to have enough hunger or capacity to consume, let's say, 3 steaks a day. So you're going to have to supplement with a high quality protein shake, protein bars, any way you can get it, beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, etc. And make sure you're drinking 2+ liters of water a day, one of those with a hydration pack. Keep that hydration mix to be low sodium, please. That is really good, useful information. Okay, let's come back to the brain. So the good foods for brain, fruits and veg, protein, as I just talked about, omega-3 containing foods like fish, avocados, nuts and seeds, making sure you're getting fiber. We want a minimum of 25 grams of fiber a day. So use your GPT, your AI, and ask it what your favorite foods, how much fiber there is in your favorite foods. Are you getting enough? Do you have to supplement? And when you can tolerate them, whole grains will give you fiber, as well as they have been shown to be helpful for brain health. Although, again, hold that one loosely. A lot of people are gluten intolerant and don't even know it. Okay, vitamin D as in dog, B as in boy, K and C, optimize those. Make sure you're getting antioxidants and flavonoids. I would say my favorite way to make sure I'm getting all the necessary things are AG1 and B minerals, which I take both every day. The B minerals, easy to take. It's a liquid, doesn't taste like anything. I just mix it in with my water bottles. And the AG1 is a greens drink. So it tastes like a greens drink. And I mix that in the morning with my creatine, my aminos powder from Keon. What else do I put in there? Oh, collagen. So those things are all very helpful. Again, the links for everything are going to be in the show notes. Avoiding sugar, alcohol, and ultra-processed foods. Now, the question I often get is, what is an ultra-processed food? Basically, if your food has a label on it, it's been processed in some way. So look and see what's in the ingredients list. I think the easiest way to do this is if it's got more than 4 ingredients, then you should probably make a different choice. All right, that's a really basic overview. Okay, let's talk about how the hormones affect the brain and brain aging. So with estrogen decline specifically, we see, so when estrogen goes down, we see immune system becoming activated. We see an increase in cytokines, which are pro-inflammatory markers of the immune system. We see more oxidative stress. We see a decreased strength of the blood-brain barrier. And as a result, we see more age-related inflammatory signals to the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. It's helpful to know that estrogen is neuroprotective. It is also anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, maintains blood-brain barrier integrity and immune cell regulation. It has DNA repair properties. I'm still talking about estrogen here. Estrogen has DNA repair properties. Isn't that fascinating? And it stimulates BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which encourages neural networks to be neural connections. So it keeps your brain plastic. It keeps it evolving and pruning and growing. We want BDNF. It's a really important thing. Without estrogen, the neuroimmune system is in a pro-inflammatory state and reacting to damage from toxins, trauma, infection, aging, stress, or autoimmunity, causing neurodegeneration, causing dementia. In perimenopause and menopause, when estrogen is low, we want to add in adequate nutrition. We want to decrease stress to prevent Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other neurodegenerative diseases. So, what are the things that increase inflammation, specifically neuroinflammation and the Alzheimer's disease risk? And again, even if you don't have any Alzheimer's in the family, extrapolate the lessons here for sure for brain health. Okay, what are the things that are neuroinflammatory? Air pollution. Okay, I love my Jasper, you guys. I have one in the office and I have one at home too. We'll leave that link in the show notes. Poor sleep quality, chronic stress, smoking and vaping, lack of exercise, poor or inadequate nutrition, and alcohol consumption. Now, the cool thing again is these things are modifiable, which means that you have the ability to control whether or not you're exposed to them or how much you're exposed to them. And I'm going to say choose the side of no or low exposure in order to protect your brain. So more helpful things, addressing our air quality with a Jasper filter, figure out where things in your sleep are going sideways if you're not a great sleeper, and pull the levers. I personally use an ultra-human ring. I've used the Aura ring as well. Really useful information for telling me what kind of sleep I'm getting. Is it restful, and which which parts of the sleep I can pull the levers on while I'm awake to make that better. Also, one of the things I love for making my sleep better is I have a chili pad on my bed, which is a mattress pad that basically has the ability, it's got water tubes running through it, and I can change the temperature on those water tubes. So I like it really warm when I get into bed at night. So I usually turn it on about an hour before I get into bed. And then once I start reading my book, I turn it down about 10 degrees, and that slow decline of temperature in my bed tells my brain it's time to go to sleep. And then it keeps me cool all night long. I'm telling you, it works a hot damn. It's called a chili pad. I think we've talked about it here on the show, but my God, you guys, we've done so many episodes. We're well over 200 episodes at this point. I think I've talked about it on the show, but it might have been a while. I'm going to leave you that note in the show notes. Okay, it's not just about estrogen. New research, now keep in mind, again, this is all coming from the Narrative Overview by Leppard et al. Again, it's in the show notes. New research shows loss of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone amplifies microgliosis, NF-kappa B activation, increases cytokine release, and decreases glymphatic flow. Basically, big words meaning brain degeneration. But here's my favorite part. The newest research shows that HRT reverses these changes and stabilizes the brain and the blood-brain barrier. We have the evidence now that shows where hormones are neuroprotective and preventative of neurodegeneration. That's so important. Like, for me personally, 100% the reason why I take the HRT, because I want to keep my brain working as well as it is now, and I don't want to go the way of the women in my family with neurodegeneration. So if you've listened to the show for a long time, you'll know when I talk about brain health, it's personal. Okay, now Dr. Lisa Mosconi et al. Showed us a 26% reduction in dementia risk if menopause hormone therapy, is another way of saying hormone replacement therapy, if MHT was taken for more than 10 years. So if you haven't yet started HRT, don't wait for your brain to degenerate before you act. So again, I hope this was useful information for you. I know it was incredibly useful for me. Reading this paper is like catnip for me. I just ate it right up, making notes like a maniac. I love this stuff. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope that there's something useful here for you. Again, I've referenced a bunch of things that will all be in the show notes for you to take a look at and yourself. And if you have any questions, leave us a message on Instagram at Dr. Fiona Lovely, one word on Instagram, and somebody from my team or me. I don't know. It depends on what day of the week it is. It might be me getting back to you. So to my dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to this fresh, hot off the presses, hot off the research press podcast just for you. Thanks for listening. The information and other content provided in this show or in any linked materials is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.